Okay, I'm at 125 Clapboard Ridge Road in Greenwich. This is Grant Putnam Landscaping. Just wanted to do a quick walk around your property and point out all the things that we spoke about. So as we spoke about, you have a lot of boxwoods, different varieties on your property. They're susceptible to disease. You do have some disease here and back there. And we recommend spraying those to try to prevent that disease from spreading. You got different types of hydrangeas here as well. Okay, you got a dogwood tree, 2 crab apples here. We talked about removing the mugo pines. There's one here and one there. Talked about removing those. We talked about removing all the smaller boxwoods in this area. Some of them are diseased. The disease is usually it's called boxwood volatula, and that usually is gonna occur on very humid, rainy years. And that's what you have. So I'd end up removing these, removing all the smaller ones in here, keep the large ones, and then doing understory plantings of colorful perennials for these beds. And I think that'd be a nice solution for the area. Okay. Here you might replace these. I think it actually makes sense to replace these with green velvet boxwoods, put in new ones. You could probably keep these 3 and just replace these 2. All right. And then over here, again, if these are sprayed, I think they'll come back. Okay. Ice dance carex, that's a common perennial. Those have to be cut back early spring. Got a lot of hemlock trees in the property. Some of them have woolly adelgid insect, so those have to be sprayed with horticultural oil and treated systemically in the spring to prevent that insect. At the same time we treat those, we treat the boxwoods, which fertilizes them in the spring and also prevents them from getting leaf miner insect. The lawn is wet in certain areas. It has certain sinkholes, like here. There's a drainage issue in the back. So I think you should, address that at some point. In the back, you need drainage. But over here, it's more of just adding topsoil where necessary. The trees need to be trimmed probably this year to prevent you losing more lawn. So I'll put you in touch with a tree company that can shape these trees for you. Emerald green arborvitaes, azaleas, forsythia, hydrangeas. The mophead hydrangeas, just so you know, are not guaranteed to bloom because they bloom on last year's wood. That tree needs to come down. That tree has got serious decay in it. And the problem is when it falls, it's going to cause you a lot of damage. So I'd remove it now, preemptively, rather than wait afterwards and lose all the plants either to the right or take out the trees and the fence to the left. So same thing, the tree guy could give you a quote on that. 2 more crab apples in the back. I think if I was you, I would take out these roses and put something else in here because there's not enough sunlight because of this tree. So I think it's a good idea to have plantings here, but again, switch it out for more shade tolerant plants in this area. These Tide Hill boxwoods also had boxwood volatula. So we could spray them this year and hopefully that will prevent it from spreading. But these are pretty damaged. You might have to replace these in the future, just so you know. Okay. We talked about doing masonry repair for the steps, these 2 sets of steps, and also the front walkway. Okay. Now I want to point out your lawn. So your lawn, from a lawn cutting perspective, we have to start at this bush, and where the white flowers are, roughly call it 30 feet from this fence, is where your lawn cutting stops. And then we would stop all the way at the bottom where those rocks are. There's a group of rocks and like brambles. That's where we would stop cutting. You can sort of tell because the other person is maintaining the other lawn, and the lawn is greener, has been fertilized, and this one hasn't. But again, we're talking about starting at this plant, roughly 30 feet off the fence going this way, stopping at those rocks down there. That's the lawn mowing and lawn fertilizing. This area is super shady. Usually you see these shady areas in the spring and also in the fall. You'll never seed a full sun area in the spring because the grass is just going to die from the heat stress during the summer. The lawn, as we spoke about, is going to inherit the problems from last year. So you're going to have to get through this spring and summer, and you'll see a big leap of improvement once you core aerate it and seed it in the fall. Okay. Again, more hemlocks. We spoke about being very careful not to hit the spaghetti tubing with the weed whacker. So that's something we want to point out. Putting sod in here. More Tide Hill boxwoods. Some, again, probably looks like they have some disease. Green velvet boxwoods in here. When we cut the roses back this year, we cut them back about 30% to remove that kind of top piece. All right, these roses in here. The roses against the fence, we just cut them back a little bit less, but that should be communicated in that the first time we trim the plants in the property. We want to have my guy walk around with you and just make sure we're on the same page as far as trimming some of these plants so there's no surprises. These are green mountain boxwood. These actually have leaf miner insect. I can tell there's little bubbles. That's what I was talking about. You typically treat during the spring. So these both have leaf miner insect. Now it'll slowly kill the plant. So those have to be treated along with the rest of the boxwoods in your property. That actually happens now. That's a spring systemic treatment. And it comes with fertilizer as well. The roses, I'll cut back about 20% here on this side. Roughly 20% on that side. Then we'll cut the roses back. Hydrangeas, we're gonna wait a little bit longer before we touch these. Just remove the dead limbs for now, and then we wait a little bit longer. Then the next month, if there's any dead limbs in the top, then we cut them off, okay? Because sometimes the branches don't have any growth, and essentially then you cut them down. But you wait a little bit longer on those. This is the water issue where you have a swale, which you might address as another project in the future, okay? Boxwood. This area back here, it's very, very shady. Want to be super careful with the moss. That means no heavy blowers back here. That's the main thing that would probably destroy this moss is heavy blowers. So we got to be really careful about that. She wants to maintain the moss as much as possible, okay? And that means probably hand pulling the weeds out of here. I think makes sense, okay? Boxwoods have to be tied to avoid holes in the top of them from the snow damage with green jute twine in the late fall. Again, these trees need to be trimmed this year. Everything in here looks pretty healthy. Trees, again, these hemlock trees need to be trimmed. I would replace the inkberry holly at some point because they're getting leggy. This is, again, snow damage. And that's about it. So I appreciate the opportunity. I'll shoot this over to you with the quote, and we'll take it from there. Thanks for the opportunity.